I've had my drink. Time. Letter writing. The epistolary format was also the perfect precursor to the next piece of homework that I assigned to David and Annette in between their weekly date night book clubs. I suggested that they write a letter to each other. I hoped that this would inspire a silent goal to keep each other in mind throughout the week, to share compassion and kindness toward each other, and ultimately to share love in their writing. They could even use these letters to state grievances, but also gratitude, affection, and appreciation for one another. Through letter writing, I hope they would recreate some of the excitement of those thrilling moments when they first fell in love. Letter writing is a creative bibliotherapy technique I use for addressing interpersonal or relationship issues due to the emotional intimacy it fosters between reader and writer. Letter writing, how it works. Letter writing is a way of presenting oneself to another in a deeply honest way. It took off in the 18th century, a time known as the Great Age of Letter Writing. It was a medium through which you could explore your own thoughts, feelings, ideas, and identity. At the same time, you were writing with a reader in mind, inviting them to share in your innermost thoughts. This created a contract of trust between the receiver, the reader, and the sender, the writer. Letter writing is a useful therapeutic tool because it has all the elements of a therapeutic alliance: trust, intimacy, openness, honesty, the sharing of oneself. It gives the receiver space and time to construct an equally thoughtful response without the need to respond straight away, as you would in a conversation or when using modern-day instant messaging, making the response more meaningful and purposeful. It can also be a useful way to share the things you find hard to express in person, and it can give the recipient the time and space to offer a more considered, thoughtful response. For example, the more emotionally intense requests, such as making a confession, seeking or granting forgiveness, or getting back in touch with someone after an estrangement, argument, or betrayal, can trigger various emotions in the recipient. Letters allow us to make these requests or share these feelings without risking the recipient's immediate emotional reaction, which may be negative in the first instance. In bibliotherapy, letters can be written to another person, to a protagonist in a novel, to the author of a book, or even to our future or past selves. There is no pressure to send your letter if you don't feel ready. Simply, the exercise of writing the letter can be therapeutic. Why letter writing is beneficial for couples bibliotherapy. For couples therapy specifically, letter writing can improve trust. By taking time to write the letter, we are demonstrating our commitment to the other person and showing that we care. A letter from a significant other can be deeply romantic and bring about feelings of love, excitement, warmth, and even desire. The authenticity, intimacy, and romance of it can really take us back to the feelings we might have had about the other person when we first fell in love. Words, after all, connect us and bring us closer, and that is the goal of couples bibliotherapy. Let the letters become your shared vision and affirmation of how you'd like to forge ahead with your life together as a couple. Letter writing felt like the perfect way to re-inject romance into Annette and David's relationship. It created anticipation, particularly for Annette and David and their upcoming date night. It was something to look forward to. I wanted to see how they both got on with each exercise over a fortnight before I saw them again, as this would give them time to enjoy 2 date night book clubs and to write and receive a letter twice. I also had a few more suggestions up my sleeve. Love languages. The first was to work out their love language using Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. Chapman believes that we experience love in 5 different ways or languages: quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. I suggested they work out which ones were the most meaningful for both of them and to focus on these love languages during their date night. So now they had not one book, but two to discuss at their first date night the following Friday. Literary conversations through 12 questions. The second thing I asked them to do was to complete a set of 12 literary questions. I get clients to do these together on their very first date night book club. There is an energy in these questions that can help to reignite dormant passion, as the sharing of self through the responses encourages feelings of closeness and intimacy. These questions have been designed and inspired by a variety of literature on relationship and attachment. 1, and you guys think about this, what's your favorite book from childhood? Why? 2, what book should be mandatory reading for everyone? 3, what book has influenced you the most? 4, if you could host a literary dinner party, who would you invite and why? 5, if there is a book you would give someone you love, what would it be and why? 6, what's your favorite love story? Why? What draws you to this story? 7, what are the most interesting books that you have read? What makes them so in your opinion? 8, what are some of your reading aspirations? A goal to get through a certain fraction of your to-be-read list? A regular book club with your favorite people in the whole world? An opportunity to meet an author you love and pick their brain? 9, name a book that you haven't read yet that you are really excited about reading. 10, think of a friend who is in a difficult situation right now. What books would you suggest that they read? 11, are there any hidden gems in your reading life? Little known books that you wish more people knew about? 12, what gives your life meaning? And this question is inspired by Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Reading poetry aloud as a couple. Finally, I suggested something purely experimental. I wanted them to read love poems aloud to each other at some point midweek, in between the date night book clubs, in order to keep up the momentum, energy, and excitement of the date nights. I asked them to make meaning from it and to discuss what they found striking. And if they felt inspired, I suggest they could even write each other a poem and then read these out loud. Reading poetry to our loved ones is a deeply romantic act, a bibliotherapy spell for romance. Reading poetry aloud as a couple, how it works. Reading poetry together can be hugely restorative and create room for connection. It can trigger discussion and help us focus on each other and our goals as a couple. Poets, through their carefully chosen words, phrases, and rhythm, create a particular mood or atmosphere, one that has a calming effect on the mind, slowing us down and focusing both partners on the present. When we read poetry aloud together, we often need to pay closer attention to our breathing in order to maintain the rhythm and flow of the poem. We become more mindful of our breathing patterns, and this can lead to a sense of calm and relaxation. In addition, the shared experience of engaging in an activity together creates intimacy and connection that reduces feelings of anxiety and stress, which can contribute to slower, more regulated breathing. Reading poetry aloud together also instills a sense of romance, as poetry's use of language is more expressive and concise, creating vivid and sensual images that can evoke powerful emotions. Love poetry, in particular, uses rich imagery and metaphor to convey the intensity of romantic feelings. Novels can also be powerful in instilling a sense of romance, but they may not have the same emotional intensity or concise, expressive language as poems. This makes poetry more effective than novels for restoring romance and togetherness, acting as a beacon of hope that things are heading in the right direction. When I caught up with them on the phone a few weeks later, These simple habits had brought back some of the romance they had been missing over the last few years, and they felt a renewed sense of connection. They continued the date night book club and letter writing, and although the poetry was a unique experience, they decided it wasn't something that they would do on a regular basis. Habits were born, and they felt these were sustainable and injected the right amount of romance and intimacy in the midst of a hectic family schedule. And that's the value of reading and reading together. It gives us the opportunity to find the love languages we need to express how much the other person means to us. Sharing an immersive experience that puts us both on the same page brings us closer, and letting ourselves be positively influenced by other people's stories of love can help us rediscover our own. The bibliotherapy toolkit in all of this. Bibliotherapy techniques used: date night book club, letter writing, literary conversations through 12 questions, and reading poetry aloud as a couple. This was recommended for restoring intimacy in a relationship. The books prescribed were Bernard D. Brown's Dear Selma, a World War II love letter romance, and Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages. Bibliotherapy techniques applied, key takeaways and exercises. Letter writing key takeaways. Letter writing is an intimate form of presenting oneself to another in a deeply honest way. It's a medium through which you can explore your thoughts, feelings, and ideas. As you are sharing your innermost thoughts, this openness and intimacy creates a contract of trust between the receiver and the sender. Letter writing has all of the elements of a therapeutic alliance: trust, intimacy, openness, honesty, and the sharing of oneself. It makes it easier for the sender to express the thoughts and feelings they may find challenging to do in person. It gives the receiver space and time to construct an equally thoughtful response without the pressure to respond straight away or without risking an impulsive reaction, making the response more meaningful, considered, and purposeful. These letters can be written to another person, to a protagonist, to an author, or to our future or past selves. A letter written does not always have to be sent. The simple act of writing the letter can be therapeutic. Letter writing for couples, bibliotherapy, key takeaways. A letter can improve trust and bring back past feelings of love, excitement, warmth, and desire. A series of letters over time can become your shared vision and affirmation of what you'd like your future relationship to look like. Exercise. Commit to writing to your partner once a week. Be open, honest, and authentic in your writing. Handwritten letters are preferable, although emails will still work. Use the following prompts to guide you. Name 1 or 2 wonderful ways in which your partner makes you feel loved and accepted. Show how much you appreciate each other and what you value the most. What is really going well and what would you like to see more of? Is there a fantasy, romantic or sexual, that you'd like to experience with your partner? Describe it in detail. Where would you like it to take place? Would you want it to be a one-off event or a frequent occurrence? How would you like to feel at the end of it? How could you sustain this feeling? How do you currently deal with stress, frustration, or disappointment with each other? How would you like to be able to deal with it going forward? How can you show each other that you are a unit? 6, what is your vision for your relationship going forward? Your dreams, goals, aspirations. At the end of the week, reflect on these letters together and perhaps use the following discussion points. What resonated? What made you feel closer? What came as a surprise? How would you like to use these letters to help your relationship going forward? Did the letters make you feel hopeful? If there has been strong feelings of anger, disappointment, or frustration, what could you do together to calm these? Was there anything missing from the letters that you wish you had expressed or said to each other? If you need more therapeutic support, Consider discussing these letters in couples counselling, psychotherapy, bibliotherapy, or coaching. Reading poetry aloud as a couple. Key takeaways. Well, see you tomorrow.